Head football coach Brent Venables.
All right, hello. Good to see everybody. Going on the road this week, going to Lawrence, Kansas. Got a lot of respect for what the Kansas program is today. The transformation that's taken place there in Lawrence under Coach Leipold and his staff. What a great job and example of development and great schemes, putting their players in position to be successful. They've gotten incrementally better each year that they've been there. And they've got a veteran football team that's had a lot of success. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now. And the quarterback, Bean, has really played outstanding this year in the games that he has started. They got great skill, really well-coached offensive line. Done a really nice job of developing their defense, their personnel on their roster. They've got good length and speed, and they're playing with a lot of aggressiveness and playing with great effort in all three phases. So, you see his fingerprints all over the program. So, going to be a great challenge for us. Another really highly ranked offense that does a lot of really tough, challenging things in their run game and their play action game. And so looking forward to getting up to Lawrence and having a chance to try to find a way to win another one. So with that, I'm going to open it up.
Start in the middle, Eric.
Brent, Ethan Downs mentioned the phrase "eye crimes" yesterday when we were talking to him. What's it like for a player and a coach when you see the light bulb go on and they start trusting their keys and not their eyes as much?
Yeah, they just play a lot more consistent, more sure of themselves, and the aggressiveness and the precision come with that, when you're looking at the right things and reacting to what your eyes are telling you to do.
Just the feeling of that as a coach, what's it like when you see that player, the light bulb just pop on and
No, it's
they got
fun.
it?
Yeah, it's fun. Obviously, there's a lot of freedom in that, when the player is able to play that way. So you can move on to the next problem. That's really where you go. Mm-hmm.
Ryan.
Yeah, Brent, in light of what's going on in Michigan, I wanted to ask you, how prevalent do you feel like sign stealing is in the sport right now, and how much of an advantage do you feel like that would give a team?
I'm sure it's part of it. And I think people are finding all different kinds of ways to prevent it and to try to gain a competitive advantage. I think you see a lot of people huddling and things like that and sending people in and, to the sideline. But I don't know how prevalent it is or it isn't. And with tempo and pace, I think it makes it all really hard. And but you see probably about every game in college football where the signal stealers on offense and defense are all shielded to try to keep people from the press box that might be looking down with binoculars from getting a leg up.
About people being on the other side, though?
You're always. I think you'd be naive and negligent if you're always not aware of, the potential. And that's why, again, from whether it's year to year or it's week to week, since I've been coaching, as long as there's been signaling, where you're always on both sides of the ball, always changing up your signals and things of that nature. Even the hand signals on the field. That the players will do amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brett, when you left for Clemson, Kansas had just started its sort of descent into lack of success. You come back, Leopold's got it performed pretty good. Mm-hmm. In between, being a Kansas guy, did you ever just casually glance at the standings or a score and say, what's going on in Lawrence? I mean, year after year, it was historic, their lack of success.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've known the different coaches that have been here, know them personally, and I've always paid attention. Shane Zinger was on our staff as a support in a support role at Kansas State while I was there as a player and a coach, and again from Mark Mangino to forget the coach from Nebraska, Turnigill. coach from Terry, what's it? That was at Northern Iowa for Terry Allen, and so many other coaches. And again, I talked about this a few days ago with Coach Mangino, and certainly Glenn Mason as being two of the most recent, very successful. David Beatty as well, but they've always had great support there in their sports and athletics, and no reason that they can't be successful. And again, I love the base where they're at in the Kansas City area. The depth of the players isn't necessarily there from a population standpoint in the state of Kansas, or Missouri's obviously more populated, but I think it's when you look at the resources that they have and the success that they've had through their basketball program, that they've shown they can be incredibly successful, and that's what they're doing now. And they'll come if you're successful. Everybody wants to support and follow a winner, and so that, I love that there's pride restored, and being a Kansas guy, that was a heated rivalry, right? Like all in-state rivalries, the Sunflower State Showdown. But I like that there's pride and success happening in Lawrence, Kansas. I think it's good for the Big 12.
Yeah, Brent, I wanted to ask you about your running back rotation. Who ultimately, I guess, decides who's going to be that guy, and how much input do you have in that? And do you think Gavin can be your guys' guy moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, DeMarco's the CEO of his position. Ultimately, all the responsibility is mine. I'm not sure if I've ever had a head coach tell me who I can start and who I can't, as long as everybody's in good standing. That's the position coach. That's why you pay him, to make those decisions. But certainly, hey, get so and so in the game. Things of that nature. A lot of it's based on what they do at practice, and there's a body of work always. And but Gavin did some great things as the game went along, and we know what he's capable of. And this is a game of doing, and we need those guys. That room, I believe, when we're playing like we're capable of playing, and in all phases and all the different areas around them, that should be a position of strength for us.
Tawi being back this week?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Ryan on the far right.
Brent, when you've got a kicker that's going through some struggles, how does that change your thought process? Are you more aggressive as the offense gets closer to the goal line? Is that something that changes throughout the game?
Yeah, everything goes into it. That's a long. You want me to take up everybody's time? With all due respect, there's a lot that goes into it, and Zach has been really good. He missed a couple the last few weeks, and that's not good. And this is again, everybody is held to the same standard. We don't have great depth there, and a week ago we had some guys banged up, as well. But I believe and have confidence in him, and but we got to be better. That goes without saying.
Kansas's offense is explosive and pretty unique. Talk about that offense and what your defense is going to have to do to try to slow them down.
Yeah, well, again, you got to do a great job. There's a lot going on from an eye candy standpoint, and you got to fit gaps. You got to, whoop people and get off of blocks, and you got to tackle well. You got to play with great discipline and physicality, aggressiveness, all the things that you would think every single week. They're averaging, I think, just under 6 yards a carry. But one of the most explosive offenses, explosive runs and explosive passes in all of college football. And so, again, we've got to do a great job of playing with discipline and gap integrity, and then staying on top of everything, leveraging routes in the back end, so that they don't have this, great balance. And that's the challenge of all of that. It's not like a really good option team that can't really throw the ball worth a lick, where you're playing option coverage. This is a team that can throw it really, really well as run it really well. 2 weeks ago, they came up short at Oklahoma State, and they averaged 10 yards a play on the day. And, which is just shows you their level of explosiveness, that they're capable of. So when they get hot, they're tough. They've done a nice job, too, of getting the ball to everybody, from their backs to their tight ends to their deep in the receiver core as well. And the quarterback, is legit, a dual threat quarterback. And they have designed quarterback runs, and they have the triple option concepts, and then again all the play actions off of that. I think they're 4th in the country in third downs, and so they've stayed on the field. They have a lot of manageable third downs, but they're good in all the third down situations. So again, they're excellent at doing really everything, and they're averaging 7.2 yards per play, which is really good. I think that's second, in our conference, and one of the best in college football.
Let's go to Eli.
Brent, you guys were on your way to another goal line stand on Saturday, and obviously those can affect the momentum of a game. For a defense, getting those stops, the momentum of a season, how does that build for a unit like that?
Yeah, no, it just creates belief. And I think belief always comes before growth, and for us to take the next step, and again, and what I've said is a long road, a long way to go. Part of that process is developing a culture of expectation, a culture of belief, and this is how we do what we do, and certainly that permeates when it's going well, and it can permeate when it's not going so well. And we had our opportunities. We didn't. One guy, that isn't on the same page can affect all of it. And I think that was on display. But we're, again, making the incremental improvement that you want, and we'll continue to be tested here, through the course of the rest of the season. And hopefully our guys will continue to respond.
Yeah, Brent, last week you talked about UCF and KU going to be the two teams with the most deception on offense. So how are playing the Knights, how's that helping the team going into this week's practice?
Yeah, probably the failure and the disappointment to create more focus, more, again, a focused intensity at practice and in the meetings. And again, humility can be a great asset for you. So when you have some failure, and what I like is that we found a way to win and overcome some of our mistakes. But we've got great ownership of both the good and the bad, and that's allowed the growth process to take place. But you definitely learn. We constantly we got that stack of cards in our season's worth of plays that we didn't play well. We draw everything up and we rep it every week, because again, professional courtesy is they're all looking at explosive plays that you've given up, and they're going to put it in their Rolodex. That's just what teams do, and justifiably so. So our job is to fix some of those mistakes and the issues that we had, and make sure our guys are comfortable with what we need and want them to do to execute at a high level.
Jesse.
Hey, Brent, wanted to ask you about the defensive line. It seems like the production there the last couple of weeks has gone up. It seems like there's a lot of guys on the field making plays. Just how have you seen maybe that group shake out through the season, and how big of a role is the depth playing there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the comfort level, the confidence, the comfort level, the trusting of, again, eyes and hands and feet, and your stance, alignment, assignment, key, just getting into that routine of a season, and allows you to play a little more consistent, a little more aggressive, a little more physical. I think it's the simple little things, the basics, the habits that we're developing every day, and in both in the meeting rooms and on the practice field. There's a cumulative effect to it, and I think we're seeing a growth and a maturation of that group.
Brent, as often as a coach has growing pains with his program in his first year, he moves forward and comes to really appreciate for the foundationally, right, what they gave him. Bob was like that, this from his 99 experience as he moved forward. It feels weird asking you in the middle of year two if you've changed your perspective on what last year's team gave you, but I thought I'd give it a shot and see if you've already come to a more certainty about that group, or if you needed to begin with.
I mean, it's a great question, and I think I think it validates, the idea of controlling the controllables. Everything starts with belief and faith in what you're doing, and to create the buy-in, you got to go through some stuff sometimes when you're building things. And so I think there's affirmation in a lot of the things that we talked about, and continually to preach week in and week out didn't change the message, didn't change the what it takes to be successful. This is what it takes, and this is what we're capable of, and now what are we willing to do? And again, for us, it also reveals too, where once you go through again a season, it reveals where you need to get better at too, and so I think all those things revealed themselves, but scheme, situations, roster, personnel, different packages, things of that nature. But I think it all, started in just reaffirming that everything starts with the right mindset, and to get everybody on board pulling, in the same direction. So I think the adversity that we know is always there, it's always right around the corner, helps you deal with it, with a little more firmness and a little more certainty, a little more confidence, I think, not just for me. I'll tell you that I didn't flinch. This is what I know to be fact, and but I know as well. Depending on people's experience, they there's probably plenty that doubted, and I'm not mad at them. Don't fault them. That's just normal human nature, and and I'm never focused on that. My job is to focus on the guys that are sitting in front of me, and my job is to convince and challenge and inspire and to motivate and to develop. This is a developmental game, so that's our charge. And ultimately, you got to have the results that you want to, and it's a little harder when you have young people and old people alike. When you're saying this is what we got to do, and if we do X, Y, Z, then you'll have success, and then you don't have success, then you have a lot of people doing this right here. And again, like I said, for me, I'm just like this. It doesn't affect me whatsoever in the messaging, and I've talked about efficiency and how and that's every year I've ever coached, always evolving, always finding ways to get better, even through elite success. Always said, what's the next thing? And it always starts inside out, self-evaluation, self-awareness. Where do you got to get better? And that, like I said, that'll never change. But there's been great growth, obviously, in a lot of areas, and for all the reasons we've talked about several times, for the improvement. But in the middle of it, it's probably hard for a lot of people when you're not having the result you want. But I've never been result oriented. I've always believed inherently and deeply and confidently that the results will take care of themselves. And sometimes you get the result that you desire, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get the result that's pleasing to everybody, sometimes you don't. But this is how you do what you do. And I think the best of the best and the most elite and successful people in any walk of life are ones that have a consistent, tough-mindedness to them, and a persistence and determination that overcomes a lot of the factors that create doubt in a lot of people.
Go right side, third row, Cliff.
Yeah, so early on, Nick Anderson was a guy who was getting some looks here and there. He wasn't starting, made the most of those opportunities. He's had to make the transition to now being a focal point of your offense. We know he was productive, but how do you see him handling that? How has he handled it?
Yeah, that's good. Obviously he was hurt most of last year, and even this year you're like, golly, this guy's been just. It was just one injury, so it's not like, and it's no one's fault. It's not like he asked for it, but he was snake bit, and so just trying, can he get to the field? Is he going to be an available? The best ability that you can have is the availability, but he's always been, since I've known him as a freshman, mature beyond his years. His focus and his perspective on things and his work ethic has been outstanding. He's been a great teammate. He's never pouted, never felt sorry for himself. He's just worked. That's what he did. Even through the rehab, he just consistently continued to show up, didn't have any doubt, about the trainers and what their plan was, even though he continued to not, get healthy like he wanted to or have the result that he wanted to. He just kept showing back up. So I think all that hard work and that maturity and the toughness that goes along with that mentally have prepared him for this moment. And you're right. The more opportunity he's had, the more he is really has over-delivered. And so that's exciting. Proud of Nick and all of his work, and and he's done a really good job, this season.
Second row far right, Justin.
You mentioned the defensive line, but Ethan Downs specifically seems to have really hit his stride as of late.
Yeah.
Just what have you seen out of him in terms of his consistency, discipline as well?
Yeah, just his perspective. He was somebody that maybe overanalyzed things, maybe had some negative talk going on. I'm not a psychologist, but he just had a mental block where he's got all this talent and ability, but he just wasn't able to unleash. And he is now doing that. The game, and the closer you are to the ball, defensive line, the closer your hand is to the ball, the harder it is. There's less margin for error. And so all of the habits that he's had fundamentally, and technique and his effort and his physicality are all catching up with him. Things are slowing down for him, and so you see him actually playing fast. But the mental part of it and what to anticipate and knowing the situations down a distance, what they did the previous play, they run it on 1st and 10, they get -1. There's a better chance than not they might throw it. It's simple, and maybe I'm generalizing there, but literally you try to teach that to your guys so they can try to anticipate. The best players anticipate. The best players don't guess. The best players anticipate through their experience in both training and practice, film room, and certainly the game field. So he's really doing a great job of being a great leader, and now becoming, more and more consistent going into, I guess this is his 3rd year.
Brent, Luke Elzinga had a really good game for you guys on Saturday. Just what drew you to him in the transfer?
So is that the kicking game?
Yeah.
So he wasn't bad.
No.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, but just curious what drew you guys to him?
No, I'm just having fun. He's punted well in practice, and and you're always trying to find a way to get better. We have some decent competition there. That's a group that between Ashton, Luke, and Josh. That's a group that again, you can't go in and you don't have so much time during the course of once you get into game week to practice everybody. It's hard to get a bunch of punters, a bunch of looks. There's just not that much time in the week. But Luke answered. He got his opportunity, and really it was outstanding on a day that you needed him to be in. Again, we won the hidden yardage by 55 yards. And if you win it by 40 yards is kind of the benchmark for a dominant day from a field position standpoint, and the hidden yardage standpoint rather. And we were at 55 plus 55. So that was he played a big part in that, and certainly the protection helped him. So he was comfortable, and the coverage was part of it to help him not have any returns. But he did an outstanding job with his hang time, his ball placement, things of that nature. So hopefully that'll continue.
And next to Mason, we'll go to James.
Hey, Coach, so this defense has seen a couple of good backs this year, Jonathan Brooks and R.J. Harvey. How is that going to prepare you to go against a guy like Devin Neal in the backfield against Kansas?
Yeah, I mean, again, at times we've been good, and at times we haven't been good against everybody, and so really, obviously for us, and Devin's an outstanding player. Man, he can house call it at any point in time, and he's one of the guys that it's, to me, everything kind of goes through him, and our guys are confident in our scheme. I feel like they have a much better understanding of our scheme. Here we are going into game 8. We should, and when we're doing all the little things right, we're hard to run on, and because we got good players. And but when your guys get nosy or guys don't do the right things from a fundamental standpoint, or they have the eye crimes that was talked about earlier, bad things usually happen. You get exposed, and this game punishes you for those things. So that's really, instead of focusing on a guy, we really focus on us and, again, our process and how we play well, regardless of who has the ball, quarterback, receiver, running back. And, with all due respect, but great challenge. He's one of them. Every once in a while you'll face one that you can get away with maybe not doing all the little things right. This is a team, and he's a running back that if you don't, he's going to make you pay.
Third row middle, Ed.
Coach, this may be a record asking 2 punting questions in the same press conference, but Kansas is #1 in the nation in punt return, and you're coming off a good performance. What kind of challenges does that present to your punt team with what Kansas can do?
Yeah, it's obviously tremendous pressure on those guys to be able to get in their coverage lanes and have discipline and get off of blocks. They're doing obviously a great job starting with the return man, being able to get north and south, but he's got a great group around him that's straining to create success and opportunity for the return man, and I love that challenge, but Kansas is incredibly well coached. I think that's one of the many examples of that, and they've created tremendous buy-in, with their players to play with great effort and precision and the toughness to create that. That doesn't just happen just because of the return man. There's a collective unit that is all a part of that critically. And then, for, the field position, in a game where, they're also one of the best in the country from a possession standpoint, time of possession. And so, from a field position, those are the hidden yardage things that we're talking about. And for us, that's a third of our game, the field position. A year ago, we weren't very good. This year, we've been pretty good for the most part. And it'll be another big part of, the result, on Saturday.
Back to Jesse here, and then time for a couple more quick ones if there are any.
Hey, Brent, just wanted to go back to the defensive line real quick and ask you about R. Mason Thomas. He talked to us last night about, having to go through some setbacks early in the season and get through all that. Just how did you see him maybe handle and respond to all of that, and what have you seen from him the last couple of weeks in terms of making an impact?
Yeah, he was our best in fall camp until he got banged up, and it was a high sprain that he was given the green light after several weeks, but as y'all probably know, covering injuries, that the high sprains are kind of funky. Sometimes you'd rather break it. There's a better healing process, a more concrete healing process, if you will. But he's starting to feel good, and I think that the confidence piece, he's actually banged up both ankles. And so it's been really frustrating for him, and for us, he's long, he's got incredible speed and explosiveness, super twitchy, plays with great power naturally, and he was really coming into his own. So hopefully we can get him back on track, and it was good to see him have a little bit of success last week, and my expectation is to see that to develop in a positive direction as we move forward.
Back row, right, Parker. Yeah, Coach, from a recruiting perspective, obviously reflect on last year, especially as a first-year staff, you had to recruit around a vision because, as you mentioned, the results weren't there yet. But now here in year 2, you are 7-0, and the results are tangible. So how much of a balance do you strike between touting results, what the program is now, versus still pitching to a vision of what the program can be?
Yeah, it's all important. Obviously, again, now you laid out the vision, knowing what the opponent was constantly feeding. I told the coaches, I said, look, here's what they're being told, so we're on the same page. We had a little bit of credibility on past defensive success and building something, and multiple times having consistent results. But you had to sell the belief, obviously, and we weren't just bad. We were one of the worst in a lot of categories, and so I'm appreciative of people that had faith anyway. That means a lot to me, because that means they got something to them, in my opinion. And but again, you're constantly selling vision. I think that's part of being a leader, being a good recruiter, painting vision for everybody into what hopefully their future will look like, and our future certainly. And but I don't think any one of it is more important than the other. With a little bit of success, we anticipated. If we do these things in-house, talking about if we do these things, these are some of the issues or problems, good problems to have that we might have once you have, this number of commitments. But don't flinch. These are guys that had maybe one toe in the water earlier on. I would just say keep your guard up, But the other side of you is like, hey, man, they're also, let's be practical. There are people around them, and there's a negativity that maybe people are recruiting to. Like I say, justifiably so. So what? And what should they say? And our job is to change. Both the expectations and certainly the quality of our work. So, but it's lend credibility because this is kind of how we painted the vision. We keeping our rabbit's foot in our back pocket or whatever, hoping that, and hoping's not a great strategy, but this is, the result that we would have to just part of the building process, get people on board.
Back row, Brett.
Hey, Brent.
Hey.
You're facing a team that has two good quarterbacks in Jackson Bean and Jalen Daniels. We've heard that you're the scout team quarterback, so how does that kind of go into practice and stuff, preparing for the possibility of two really good quarterbacks?
General's there too, but we split reps. They got two, we got two. But, and General does a really good job, much better than me, at emulating what, the precision and all those things might look like. But, they're excellent. They're really good. And they're great systems. And, again, they put a lot of stress on you because of their ability. They're multidimensional as throwers and runners both. And their decision-making, super well coached, make very few mistakes. I think decision-making and taking care of the football are the two most important qualities of a quarterback, and they do both of those incredibly well. And so I'm not sure if we do a great job of emulating them, and we tried our best, but, both have been really, really good when they've played, and certainly Bean is just under 70% of his passes. I think 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions is it. So doing a great job delivering, and he's giving the ball to everybody, and then he was able to buy time, keep his eyes down the field, create explosive plays. He had one against Oklahoma State. He's running to his left, and Oklahoma State had him covered. And then the receiver just does a great job of working open. And he lofts it across his body and hits the guy in stride up the sideline in a really tight window. Just outstanding plays. And and he's the quote unquote backup. And so they've done a really good job and really good quarterbacks.
Yeah, Brent, I wanted to ask about Peyton Bowen. Just how's he doing health-wise? I know he had a boot on. And then secondly, how do you balance when he is healthy, getting him on the field versus maybe more experienced guys? And because it seems like he just, every time he's in there, he makes big plays.
No, he's been healthy until just a few days back. And he's better at this point in time than he was a week ago. So, and didn't really think he was going to get in the game. He was wearing the boot for the first time on game day, so the night before game, and so I didn't know he was going in the game. I thought we had a backup plan, and so when we called the sub package, most of the time I trust the coaches. We've already kind of gone through it, but he was available and did a great job getting in there. And but otherwise, he's played a ton of snaps, and he's made plays both on defense and in the special teams, like really good plays. And the more he plays, I would expect that. And we've got a good group of guys, and we got a good system of rotating. And but we trust Peyton, and he's done a really nice job of maturing and growing and learning and getting better. And then when he's been in position to make plays, he's delivered a lot. Okay. All right. Y'all have a great day.